My name is David Chu. I'm the marketing and communications manager for the Braid, and I happen to be friends with all three of these wonderful and accomplished women. I'm so excited to introduce them to you. First of all is Deb Eckerling. She's a good friend of mine. She's a writer and podcaster for the Jewish Journal who loves covering the Braid in our community. So if you've read an article in the Jewish Journal about the Braid in the last couple of years, chances are it was written by Deb, and she's a wonderful writer. In addition to that, she's an award-winning author and creator of the DEB method for goal setting simplified and the host of Goal Chat, a weekly live show and podcast. I also have Katie Chin, celebrity chef Katie Chin of Walkstar Catering. She's an award-winning cookbook author, caterer, and playwright. Her books include Katie Chin's Global Family Cookbook, 300 Best Rice Cooker Recipes, Everyday Thai Cooking, as well as everyday Chinese cooking, which she wrote with her mother, restaurateur Leanne Chin. The duo also co-hosted the national PBS cooking series Double Happiness. And I must say, Katie Chin was recently featured in the Braid's Tastes of Tradition video series, cooking together with her daughter Becca, proving that the family tradition of cooking on camera is just continuing on down the line, and it was such a wonderful series to be part of with Katie.
Oh.
Yeah. Another contributor to the Braid, Elaine Hall, who has written for our stage before, is the founder of the Miracle Project. TheMiracleProject.org is where you can find more information about it, and the star of the HBO Emmy-winning film Autism, the musical. She's an international speaker, author, media personality, consultant, access coordinator for TV, film, and theater. She's the author of Now I See the Moon, selected by the United Nations for World Autism Awareness Day. What an incredibly accomplished group of women. And this is just a taste of some of the amazing leaders, thinkers, entrepreneurs that are in Deb's new book, 52 Secrets for Goal Getting and Goal Setting. So, Deb, I want to open up and talk about how this book came to be. First, just the idea of the book itself and how it all came together, and then specifically how these two wonderful and accomplished women came to be a part of it. So, take it away, Deb.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us. Yes, I am a huge fan of the braid. You and Katie have been on Taste Buds with Deb, my podcast for the Jewish Journal. For the Jewish Journal, Elaine, we'll find something foodie. We will get you on. Um, I am a huge believer that you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. And I love the community aspect of, and it shows literally in everything I do. And my book, Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, came out in January 2020. So 6 weeks before the world had changed by circumstance, out came my book to help people embrace change by choice or by circumstance. And it was the book everybody needed, but no one knew it yet, right? So I was really fortunate because one of the blessings of the pandemic is I started my Goal Chat live show and it evolved into what it is now, which is every Monday I bring together three guests to dive into the topic of the week. And in a lot of ways, that actually led to 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. I was speaking with my publisher, Brenda Knight, this is like a year and a half ago. Publishing, it never happens this quickly. Even though I live in LA, I'm on the board of Women's National Book Association San Francisco chapter because she is the president there. And I said, isn't it time we did another book together? And she said yes. And we both have this thing about we all have these different rules, these different things that we do that make our lives better, that just easier little tricks. Like I'm a huge fan of Zoom Free Friday, which means one day, and it doesn't have to be Friday, but one day a week you have no meetings, so you actually get things done. So the original concept was 101 rules for success in business, wrote up this book proposal, and it came back, no, you're goal girl. It needs to be 52 secrets. So it became 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting. But The secret of the secret is they're actually 60 because I reached out to more people than 52 and I did not have the heart to tell anybody, no, you can't be in my book. So there's a bonus in each chapter. And the other thing that I love about the book is that I know everybody in the book. They are people I've interviewed for Taste Buds. There are people I've interviewed for the Jewish Journal who've been on Gold Chat, or just my tribe, or people in my tribe where I said, hey, do you know other awesome people? People who I said they have to be someone I would be friends with anyway. And they have to be of a giving spirit. And I realized after I said this like a dozen or dozens of times, it's really the same thing because those are my people. You know, we are out in the world to make the world better. And so that's how I got even more. I was able to extend my network through the book. So, uh, yeah. So it sparked with just this big thing I'm big on is you need to know what works for you so you could do more of that, and do less of the things that don't work. But also, the secret to success is there is no one's secret. You see all these gurus be like, oh, do this thing. Well, no one can live everybody else's life, but you can take pieces of what works for them, which is the whole concept of the book.
I love that. And two of the people in the book we have here, Elaine and Katie. Katie, I'm going to start with you, because we know each other, and I love the title of your chapter, Never Dream Harder Than You Work.
Mm.
And I know a little bit about you and where you might have learned that work ethic from. Both of us have immigrant parents. My dad is an immigrant from China. Your mom is an immigrant. Both your parents are immigrants from China, but I know especially your mom shaped you. And I'd love to kind of dive in. I know it's such a wonderful and powerful story of your mom, how she built a restaurant empire from nothing and what that taught you in terms of work ethic.
Well, my mother was extraordinary. She was a resilient spirit who overcame incredible obstacles to go from 50 cents an hour as a seamstress to building a $50 million restaurant empire. Um, she immigrated from China. She didn't speak the language. She loved to cook. She was a seamstress. She decided to thank her sewing clients, and they encouraged her to start catering. So she just put her, head to the grindstone, and she did what it took. Now, just understand, this is back in Minnesota in the 1970s. So just imagine the discrimination that she encountered, the sexism, but she just had to swallow it and then outwit everyone at every turn. So the lessons she taught me were resilience, dream big, but work just as hard because it's easy, especially in the food business. Like, oh, I'm going to open a restaurant. I want to be a caterer. I'm going to have a food blog. But I think this applies to any kind of industry. Oprah says luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So when I decided to completely change my life and pivot, going from an entertainment executive to becoming a chef, I had to start from the beginning. And then my mom became my boss, hardest boss I've ever had, ever. Even though I had crazy hard bosses in the entertainment industry. And I realized, I had a lot of ambition and I was really excited, to be on TV, but I had to like earn it. I had to earn my mother's respect and I had to earn street cred as a chef.
I love that. And you definitely have accomplishing so many things, including being on Kelly Clarkson's show, being on PBS, The Today Show. Elaine, I want to talk about you. One of the things I love in the book that you talk about, and I'm aspiring to, is how much you structure your day, how you will take and use the morning for preparation to get yourself in mentally, to think how you do. This is amazing how you shut off. You do essentially what is a Shabbat. You shut off at sundown on Friday afternoon and you don't answer any work emails, you don't do any work until Monday, and you keep your day structured to be able to think clearly. And you say part of that reason is because you're an introvert by nature. So I'm curious, where did this calendar, this schedule come from, and where the discipline to follow it, and how did you learn this is how you had to live your life? I mean, like it must have, it couldn't have just come immediately. You must have had to learn that this is how you function best. So I'm curious to know that story.
Well, thank you, David. I developed it out of necessity. I have an autistic son, and I needed to squeeze and find time for myself. I realized that if I don't, it's the old adage, put my own oxygen mask on first. So I learned that I must be like a, and I teach this when I coach other individuals that um, put my own oxygen mask on first, but also make sure that I am a finely tuned Stradivarius. And my instrument is my being, the sense of who I am in the world. So I must I've been taking a Shabbat, 24 hours off now for probably 30 years. Even when I work in TV and film, I assure that I'm off, Fridays and Saturdays. And then if I'm not, then I'm off Sunday to Monday. I make sure I have that. It's by necessity. People say to me all the time, how do you do everything you do? And because I take 24 hours off every week, it's a gift. It's a gift. In terms of structuring my mornings, that started really because I need structure. I have a highly creative, fast brain. And if I don't start the day in meditation, in slow stretches, and being in my body, embodiment, then I am not, I feel off the whole day. So again, it's completely by necessity that I structure my morning, and then I also structure my evening. I'm not the best sleeper, and I find if I structure my evening with downtime, getting off of electronics, allowing myself time to again turn my computer off, then I sleep much, much better. So
Well,
by
that
necessity, by
by
necessity.
necessity. Well, I love that, and I hope to be as organized in terms of my day as you are one day. I have this leads me into a question that our artistic director, Rhonda Spinak, loves to ask a lot of her guests. She's so fascinated by the writing process, and all of you are accomplished authors. So I'd like to ask each of you. When are you most creative? When do you set aside time to write, and why for you is that the best time? And I'm going to start with Deb.
What is this setting aside time to write? Things need to get written, they get written. And I mentioned before, so I got the yes on the book the beginning of June. My deadline was August, which, by the way, for anybody who's not familiar with publishing, that is really ridiculous. But mine is a January book, and I said, what do you need to do? What do I need to do to get the book ready? And Brenda said, can you do August? I don't want you to kill yourself. And I said, no, that's okay. I can do it. Um, for me, writing and talking is intertwined. So for the book, maybe 10 people I did via email, just because of time and whatever. Almost everybody else was a Zoom interview where I spoke to them and kind of pulled out. So for me, writing and talking is so intertwined. So for me, the best time of day is when I need to write. But I do like when I'm doing my projects, I do set aside pockets of time so I can really dig in and enjoy the work. Because if you don't love what you're working on, and I try to love everything that I'm working on and very, very blessed that way, it's going to come out. And I just hope that the love and the care that I put into this in your goal guide really shines through, because you're going to really be hard pressed to find someone who loves goals and also sharing the stories of other people like I do. I mean, you do, so you get it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I
Katie.
cheated. I cheated. I did not
Oh,
answer the
that's all
question.
right. Katie, what about you? What is your ideal time to write?
My ideal time to write is first thing in the morning, before my kids wake up, because it's less chaotic. And I think my freshest ideas are in my brain, like the morning pages from The Artist's Way. If anybody has ever followed that, it's writing stream of consciousness, 3 pages every morning with no inner critic. So I just try to like get it done when my brain is fresh and I don't have interruptions.
A lot of people I know are real morning writers. What about you, Elaine? You talked about the creativity in the morning. When is your best time to write?
So full disclosure, I write every day. I write to settle myself. I write to for my heart, and I write whenever the words come. I wrote my first book, Now I See the Moon. I call it my menopause book. I wrote it between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
I would wake up and it would come like, okay, this is it. And there was absolutely no way I was going to get back to sleep. So I would just come downstairs. I'd start typing to between 2 and 5 until I was exhausted and freezing. And then I'd go back to sleep for 2 hours, wait for my son to get up. And then um, when I got him to school, I would send it to my editor. She would say, go deeper. And then I'd spend like an hour and a half on different parts and going deeper and and then letting it happen. Very similarly to Katie, I'm a morning person. I'm the freshest in the morning. And so I love to just when it comes to me, and it still comes to me in the middle of the night, but I like to when I'm thinking being more disciplined, I allow deep work very early in the morning.
Oh, I love that about allowing that work, letting it come to you, and deep work. I love that phrase. Um,
David, can I re-answer the question?
yes, Deb, can re-answer the question.
Uh, because I'm thinking about it because I do. I write most days. I mean,
You're a
between
professional writer, yeah.
I am a professional writer between that and my consulting. So I do like to juggle, but I think I do my best Deb work at night when
Mm.
people aren't bugging me. And by people bugging me, I mean I'm not getting emails or I don't have appointments. I like a holidays because then it's like really quiet in Deb world and I can just dive in to the things that I'm working on. So I guess I do have an answer. Who knew?
I'm a little similar. I find the chaos of the day, all the emails, everything you have to answer settles down, and then at night nobody's trying to reach you, and that's sometimes when I can be my most creative.
Oh,
Um, yeah,
can I add to that? My
yeah.
my best friend in the world is do not disturb on my phone and on my computer because I'm full disclosure, I'm neurodivergent, I'm ADHD, and if I see someone's calling or someone's this or someone that, so I put do not disturb so that I can stay focused and I also have an accountability coach. So, and I set goals in the Deb method with Deb so that I can stay accountable to what I need to get done. And I love my red pen because it gets me to check off what
Oh, I love
I
that.
love having a little box in my calendar, like a little empty box I'll put in and what I need to get done. And I love using a red pen and checking it off.
I love that. And I think, all of this speaks to sometimes I think, when you're working toward a job, in some ways you have the added incentive that you have a deadline. Okay, when does this due? It's due when the deadline is. But if you're going to write, and I know so many of the people who join us on these Zooms who are part of our community have that book they always wanted to write, that play they wanted to write. Maybe they have some time now that they've retired and to go write it. It's actually, I find it can be more challenging to discipline yourself to do the thing for yourself, to write that play or book or learn how to painting or learn that other language when you don't have a boss looking over your work and saying, okay, what's gonna, this is what you got to do, then this is what you got to do. Katie, I know you had to make a big transition because, like you said, you used to work in the entertainment industry, and then all of a sudden you and your mom had to kind of be your own entrepreneur. You had to strike out on your own, and success or failure, setting the schedule. Nobody was giving you jobs, right? You had to set your own schedule. You had to, you're the one who had to have money coming in. How big of an adjustment was that, and how did you manage to make that transition psychologically?
Well, my one woman show is called Holy Shiitake, A Walk Stars Born. And it really just it traces our fish out of water experience being Chinese Americans in Minnesota to my mother's entrepreneurial journey to her and I coming together for me much later in life and leaving my executive career to all of a sudden be a caterer. So not only was that quite humbling to go from like flying business class all over the world to like lugging garbage up stairways to being bossed around by my mother, uh, it was quite traumatic, actually. And it also was, I think we all have suffered from time to time from fraud complex. Like, who am I? How did I get here? Why am I doing this? Oh my God, no one's taking me seriously. But it goes back to like proving your self worth, establishing your professional cred, but then also believing in yourself too, and doing the work that needs to get done to get there, but also just owning it, like to go from, doing that to becoming a chef and then also pivoting just 2 years ago to becoming a playwright. Uh, it was really scary and so hard. But at the same time, it's like life is short. If not now, then when? And also, like, I had to sometimes, because when I worked at Fox and Disney and Universal, I had no problem promoting the hell out of like The Simpsons or a future film release or whatever. But then when it came to myself, especially being Chinese American, when you're taught to be humble and not to, brag about yourself or, be selfless in your promotion, I had to kind of like put another hat on it and treat myself and my brand like an IP that I was promoting so that I could do it. You know what I mean? Although I will say this comes up in my show, being Asian American, it's like you're supposed to be very Chinese in the household, but then assimilate and be super American outside the household. So when my mom and we had a show, especially we're doing for the Food Network, and this was before social media, and I, I printed like hundreds of postcards as tune-in notices, and my mom pulled me aside and she goes, the thing is, Chinese people don't go around saying, look at me, look at me. And I just like burst into tears and like, I'm ashamed. And I turned into a 6 year old. So, it's like straddling both of those worlds has been quite entertaining.
I know, isn't there a Chinese proverb like the tallest nail gets hammered down or the tallest poppy gets cut, the
Right.
one it's hard. It is different to really transition to that attitude of self-promotion. It's different. I think it's difficult for a lot of people for whom who maybe are not natural self-promoters, who may be more introverted to be able to talk. And that's one of the things I love is some of the voices from introverts in this book. Elaine, you talked
Mhm.
about, not being a natural networker. But I also want to talk about, Katie, you talk about pivoting. Um, and adjusting to the new directions life ta gives you. Elaine, I want to talk about your son and the impact that your son had on your life and your work in as an activist, as an educator, as an advocate for neurodiversity in film and television and in raising awareness.
Thank you. Thank you. Just one quick comment to what Katie was saying. Our tradition as well is don't tempt the evil eye.
Yeah,
And
it's true.
so we're so similar and like one being, social but introverted, and then also, our cultural to not stand out, and so yeah, I can really identify with that. And for my own story, so I was a TV and film acting coach, and I worked with the biggest and brightest stars in Hollywood, children, and what I wanted more than anything was a child of my own. And I wasn't able to give birth biologically, so I sought to adopt a little boy from Russia, where my grandpa came from. And my grandpa was an orphan in Russia and came to the U.S. on a boat by himself at 14 years old. So I thought, okay, I'm going to bring my grandfather's legacy. And I adopted a little boy who's 2 years old. This month we're celebrating, he's been with me now for 29 years, so he's 31 now. So Baruch Hashem. So anyway, when he came to me, spun around in circles, stared at his hand for hours at a time, and um, all I knew is he was my son, and I'd been in the creative world my whole life. So I joined his world. I joined his world, and when he stared at his hand, or when he flapped, like everybody flapped with me, we'd be birds. We'd fly around the room together, and I joined his autistic world, not knowing any better, not knowing it was autism, until we found out he was diagnosed with autism, and I started learning everything I could about autism. Quit similar, Katie. I quit the TV and film business out of having to join my son, and I just think someone adopted a little girl from Russia. Wonderful, and um, developed a whole method of working, using creativity to work with individuals on the spectrum, work with my son. And inch by inch, he came into our world, still autistic, still non-speaking and creative and communicative and happy. And what does every mother want? But to connect with their child and for them to be happy. So from that, I started a theater and film program called the Miracle Project, which brings the unheard voices of those speaking and non-speaking autistic individuals with typically developing peers. Deb, that's how I met Deb. She came and volunteered for us. I want to throw that out. And developed a whole method and created the theater program, the Miracle Project, which then became a film, Autism the Musical. And I went from being behind the scenes and loving to be where no one's looking at me to being the feature of a HBO Emmy winning a documentary, which was really challenging for me. And yet, when I stayed on purpose, which this is to help others understand autism, and we ended up we ended up changing the world's perspective on autism. We ended up letting people inside our world and seeing how beautiful our children are. And as one of the moms says, how to value our kids. And spoke at the United Nations several times with the film and my books, and became like the accidental advocate, an accidental activist, which my story was at the Braid, and completely accidentally became the voice for inclusion, or what we now call belonging. We belong here, as well as being able to help people all over the world embrace their child and embrace quirkiness. And I, full disclosure, I'm discovered I'm neurodivergent myself, which is why I was very happy in my son's world. And we've trained thousands of people now in my methods, and we write original musicals and shows, and came full circle. I'm now back in the entertainment industry with back in the entertainment industry, where my actors from the Miracle Project are now in feature films and on television, and uh, Love on the Spectrum, a lot of my students, and Atypical, and the film The Accountant 2 that just came out, authentic casting, and so it's been an incredible, definitely not something that I set out to do, and yet came through to me so that I can be of service to others.
I love that. And I think it's so interesting in a conversation about setting goals that sometimes the most powerful transformations for your life are not the careers, not the goals that you thought you were going on. And I really admire people who have that resourcefulness and resilience to pivot and adapt. I think that is something that there's something very Jewish also about it too that speaks to me. And I want to talk to Deb.
Uh, can I? I know
Yeah.
you're going to ask me something, but I have to chime in on two things now. Or five. The D in the DEB method stands for determine your mission. You can't get what you want unless you know what that is, but it's so much about who you are and what you have to offer the world. Then you could set goals. But by gifting yourself that me time, that self-awareness to get you on the right path, I mean, yeah, it does feel very Jewish. Uh, and Elaine mentioned we met because I was doing something called the Jewish Bucket List, and I came and played with the Miracle Project. This was around this time, 2019. It was April. Was it April? Maybe it was fun. Doesn't matter. 2019. A couple months later, we ran into each other at Unplugged Meditation in Santa Monica, or LA, whatever border. Anyway, so we met and we adored each other. I think Elaine would agree with this. But then we met in the wild and we bonded like it was another layer. And this is why I say all the time you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. We are each other's people. And sometimes you get to meet incredible people and put them on your stage, my stage being the book. Katie, we just had our 1 year friend anniversary on Facebook, and I cannot believe I've only known Katie a year because she's been on both of my shows. I've been on her show. She's in my book. She sent me a couple people, also new friends in my book as well. And we met because people like you said, Deb, you and Katie Chin are destined to be friends. You have to meet. And this is how this circle of, with all that is awful in the world, we get to be we get to be ourselves. We get to meet awesome people and we get to raise their voices, which you do as well. I mean, I know this isn't the answer to a question. I'm just rambling, but it is such a blessing to be able to meet amazing people and share who they are with the world, which is something all of us on this panel today we get to do this.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about and because we're friends, I gave you a heads up. I know I was going to ask you this. I know in terms of pivoting, one of the biggest pivots you've had to make, and one of the most amazing people in your life was your mom. And I
Mhm.
know because we're friends that your mom really shaped so much about who you are and the person you are today. And I know for a number of years you've really been by her side, and I know she
And vice versa.
and vice
Yes.
versa. And I know she left this earth recently, and I know that's been an adjustment. And I wanted to ask, how have you adjusted? How has that shaped your life, and how do you go forward after something like that? And how did she shape you?
Wow. You ask as many questions as I give answers. I love this. This is also why we are friends. First of all, thank you so much about asking about my mom. She was amazing. And one of my biggest blessings is that, and she taught me everything I know about the importance of a conversation and having good people and following your passion and just being as you can. She was an artist. She was one of those moms who said, follow your passion. And she named Deb. She said, you hate SMART goals. Why don't you create Deb goals? I mean, every single thing I have done, she has had her fingers in, and that includes this book. And I am so blessed because her fingerprints are all over this. So the fact that this was our last project on Earth together, and whether it was like, Deb, did you reach out to so and so? They need to be in the book. Oh, they didn't reply. Well, email them again. Or, oh, I love this one. Or, oh, can I hear this interview? So much of the brainstorming of the components of the book is a her. So this is a her legacy as much as it is mine. And I think in answer to your question, that is how I move forward. I mean, she's not on Earth, but she's here.
Mm.
She didn't get to see the physical of this book, but she got to see the book and be part of putting it together. And for me, that will always be such an amazing blessing that we did this together. I mean, we did so many things together. You don't have a long enough braid show for all of our projects. But the fact that this, which is probably the most Deb thing I've ever done because it brought together conversations and inspiration and sharing amazing people with other people. I mean, the fact that it is so all of the things and the fact that she's with me, in my heart, in the book, everywhere I look anyway. And yes, she's, Deb, stop. You're embarrassing me. Stop. Move on already. I mean, okay, mom. Um, she was just such a beautiful, loving person, and I am just blessed that there's so much of her in me that I get to continue to share with the world.
What a what a remarkable person. And I now I'm getting emotional. I knew you were getting emotional. I'm gonna one last question for me, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask this because we are a Jewish storytelling theater company. Um, Deb and Elaine, you are Jewish, and Katie, you're married to a Jewish man and raising Jewish children. What is your favorite Jewish value that helps you achieve and live your dreams? I'm gonna start with Deb.
This is going to sound really the opposite, but there's so much practicality in being Jewish. And you mentioned Deb method, it's goal setting simplified. Um, Everything we do as Jews is because it makes sense. And I feel like so much of that, and I don't realize until people say, Deb, you realize everything you talk about is so Jewish. We are all about doing the best we can, being so much of ourselves in the world, and changing your life is challenging enough. I just made really simple instructions because we have the power as Jews, as humans, to be whomever we want and put our best selves in the world.
I love that. I love that. Katie, I'm gonna go with you next.
Well, there are many Asian American Jewish marriages out there and partnerships. There's so much similarity in culture. Food, guilt, obviously, practicality, uh, being achievement oriented. But I think, it's the sense of community, which has been just so beautiful. Um, because well, I'm on my third husband actually, but when I met Matthew's my like the best, nicest husband I've had. And actually, to be honest, my oldest sister is married to a Jewish man. My brother's married to a Jewish woman. So, since I was young, I've been exposed to the culture. But here in LA, marrying Matthew, just being even that much more exposed to a Jewish culture and the beautiful sense of community. I just felt so welcomed into our synagogue, which is Temple Judea. Our kids were B'nai Mitzvahed, and I think it's just made me a more well-rounded person.
Oh, I love that. And I think one of the most important things that we can do as Jews is welcome people to be part of that community. And that's how we get wonderful people like Katie being part of it.
Mm.
Elaine, I'm gonna ask you.
Mm. Picked my favorite topic. First of all, I want to say um, the honor to be part of the braid and to be part of Deb Eckerling's tribe. And I think that goal setting is such a Jewish concept and following your mission. So I have this belief, and I've heard it from a Rebbitzin, that there's a midrash that before we come to this planet, before our souls are brought down into a body, we're missing. Our soul is missing on the earth. And it is our duty when we come here to listen to ourselves, to listen to our souls, and to do what we're meant to do on the planet and to follow that. And again, back to Deb and the book is that life creates wobbles so that we don't always tune into that listening, that core listening, and to be able to find our mission, to remember. It's remembering our mission and then find people like Deb to help us get there and set those goals. Um, so that is a value of Judaism that speaks very strongly to me. That and that of gratitude. Because if we're always looking out there to feel good and to find it and to achieve it and to be it and to do it, we forget. I mean, our tradition says do 100 thank yous a day, 100 blessings a day, Baruch Hashem, right? To do a lot of, to be aware of just how much we have right now, like the hummingbird that just flew by me, how important it is to, if not now, when, to be in the moment. There's just, our culture is so rich with ways of being in the world.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna sit with that beautiful meditation on on what Judaism means. Thank you, Elaine, and thank you to Katie and Deb, and I'm gonna hand it over to Daphna.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, David. So we are now moving into our Q&A portion. If anybody has any questions for any of our guests, please feel free to chat them now. I'm going to start with a question for Deb. And that is, what was it like to receive all of these incredible stories and to be the conduit that told these stories in your book? That's my first question. And then part two is, do you feel like there's one theme that runs through the entire book?
Um, I think the theme goes back to the whole Jewish thing, which is, you know, our lives are within our control, but we need to make that choice to take control and move forward. I feel amazing. I mentioned before that this is the most Deb thing I've ever done. I speak on goals, love goals, do consulting, I do book proposals consulting. I help people put their ideas together in a way that they can put it out into the world. I help people who've got too many ideas say, okay, this is really where your passion lies. And they're like, I've known people for years. You've spoken to me for 10 minutes and you get me. People know the answers, they don't always ask the questions. So I feel like my goal, my blessing would be to make this the next chicken soup for the soul. So where I'm at a point, because everybody has these stories, everybody has these things that have worked for them to share. And again, the secret to success is there is no one secret. I am blessed to know people in so many different areas that were giving enough that they wanted to share to help even more people. That is the other big theme of the book is everybody in this book wants people to succeed. Don't we all want, why wouldn't we all want that? Right? And one other thing, and then I'll let you move on. Elaine was one of the first tips in the book. I actually put Elaine in my book proposal, and I had met Katie, like I said, a year ago. So I think I had just turned in the proposal in March, and I met Katie around then, and it was like in my head immediately that she needed to be part of this. So when you meet your people, you know your people. I am just, and David, oh my goodness, how many awesome things can I say about you and what you do to bring voices to the community? I'm just blessed to know many people who want to elevate voices, and I get to be, I guess, the elevator's elevator.
It's wonderful, and that energy comes through in the writing. So it's pretty incredible. And the friendships and the tribe is definitely what matters most. And you've highlighted that in a beautiful way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and can I add, if you've got a secret, there is a place on my website where you can share the secret because, again, my goal is to have a whole slew of these to give voices to as many people as I can.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. It looks like in the chat that Katie, if you have an email or a website that people can get in touch with you, it looks like somebody would like to know contact info that works. So if you don't mind chatting that, that would be great. It looks like Faith Goldman is curious. I do have a question for all of you, but I'm curious about how Elaine and Katie specifically feel about the um adversity. There's a lot of adversity in the neurodivergent community and with being an immigrant or having immigrant parents, and being multicultural. What, how do you face adversity in your work? And especially we're not a political, we don't go political, so I want to make that a point, but there's a lot going on in the world, and how do you manage all of the changes and staying true to yourself? Elaine, why don't you go first?
Because I handle everything that comes in with love and compassion and understanding because I feel that people are outwardly fighting because they're inwardly disrupted.
Mm.
And I value hearing all opinions without forcing my own. And I believe that that creates, just like conversation here, that creates dialogue and listening. Um, I was at last week for Yisker, and the rabbi, I was with some family that are very strong about their political views, and there's been a lot of disruption in our family. And the rabbi said, "Stop, stop discussing these things,
Mm.
and remember the love you have for each other." And then when a family member is forcing their opinion on you, it's because they love you and they want you to believe the way they do out of love. So to me, the answer to all this disruption is profound love of self, love of God, trust, and be the one, be the peace that you're moving through in the world.
Beautiful. Thank you. Katie, I'm going to move on to you. How do you face adversity and challenges in your life and move through them? Oh, I gotta unmute you, don't I? Here we go. I gotcha.
So much. I always just to try to think about my mom, like what would my mom do in these situations? And I think it's just to handle every situation with grace and do the best you can, right? We're all human. We're all feeling extremely stressed out, filled with anxiety. And I think also becoming a mom, also trying to set an example for my kids because, they learn what they live. And I don't want them to feel stressed. At the same time, I want them to feel informed and to be out there in the world having an educated opinion about what's going on. Um, but I think, again, what Elaine is saying, like it goes back to love and loving yourself, loving your family, taking one day at a time, because it can be extremely overwhelming. But I think it's also about hope. It's about resilience and hope because we can't give up, right? And we have to also um, just enjoy the good things in life
Mm.
and not to let all of this insanity win and take over our lives.
Amen to that. Thank you all for sharing your very wise words. And I think, our audience definitely took a lot away today. I know David and I did as well. So thank you so much. I'm going to post all of those links. So to all of Deb's and Katie's and Elaine's, all of their happenings and lots of cool stuff going on. And the link to buy Deb's amazing book is there as well. Deb, do you want to share? It's on Amazon. Is that the prime place you want people to purchase the book? What is the
You can find 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting at your favorite place to buy books. I always lead with Amazon because it also has the ebook versions on there, and there's an audiobook coming soon. But yeah, if you've got, it's really fun. When the book was coming out, I had two friends on the East Coast. They're like, I ordered from my indie bookstore and it came a day early. I was so happy. So, if you've got a favorite bookstore, see if they have it. If not, you can order it. If not, if you want to get it online and if you love the book and want to do a review on Amazon or Goodreads so more people can discover the book, that's always appreciated. Can I answer adjacent
Oh, please. I
the
didn't
that
want to
last
exclude
question?
you. Yes,
Oh no,
absolutely.
it's not. It's really Katie kind of tiptoed into my answer. I believe goals are the answer to all that is wrong with the world, and not the way that you think. There is so little we have control over right now, but we do have control over ourselves and where we put our attention. And if your life is great, awesome. Maybe there's something in your personal life. You've got this project you've always wanted to do, this book you've always wanted to write, or maybe you're not loving your career, but you can't leave it. But there's something on the side. There's always something you can do that you can dedicate a little bit of time each week. Put in the calendar, so it's a goal, right? You make that commitment to yourself, but do something that brings you joy, that you're working towards building, even if it's a little bit every week, and let that joy leak on over to the other parts of your life. Because when there is so much diversity and angst, and you're feeling helpless, remember you do have some control over yourself and your projects and the light and the love that you want to bring into the world. So if you prioritize that, if you make it a goal, it's a win for everybody.
Mm. Wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for adding that. Thank you, ladies, so much. And I want to thank David. I just have a few things before everybody starts to sign off. I wanted to just share a little bit about what's going on with the braid. So we have our show for the love of animals, which is May 14th to June 22nd. That is the run. So it's amazing stories about animals and how they impact our lives and our love and deep admiration for the animal kingdom. And we would love for you to join us for that third and final salon show of the season. I let me post those tickets are going to be here in the link that I'm posting right now. Wonderful. We also have Monica Piper's Not That Jewish. She's an Emmy award-winning comedian, writer, who has this amazing show about her life. So if you have not seen that yet, it is been said by the New York Times. It's funny, delicious, and a gem, which it absolutely is. It ran off Broadway for quite some time a few years back. So we'd love for you to come and see that show before it is closed at our new theater space, The Braid, in Santa Monica. And lastly, thank you to anyone who purchased a virtual ticket for this event. It's how we keep these things running. We really appreciate your support. If you'd like to make a donation, you can also go to this link as well, and we appreciate any additional funds you're able to provide. If you enjoyed this event, again, it has been recorded and will be posted on YouTube shortly. With that being said, I'm just going to turn it over to David to say goodbye to everyone. Oh, sorry, David, go ahead.
Thank you again for everyone for joining us. Thank you to Deb and Katie and Elaine. You were already part of the Braid family, but now I feel like the Braid family has gotten to know you even better now. And thank you everyone for joining us. It's really such a joy to be able to bring us together and help us all talk about how we can live our dreams. So thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you,
Have a
guys.
great rest of your day.